Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing my process for creating this DTIYS piece that I did last August. So that would be August of 2022. So let's get started. So I don't really do resolutions, but every year I do try to set myself some goals, and I try to set myself a monthly task or a monthly goal. And last year's was to do one DTIYS, which is Draw This in Your Style, that was hosted by another artist. This one was for the month of August, and the original artist was Elby Draws on Instagram. And when I saw this little strawberry witch, I was like, this is so cute. I have to do this one. I was very excited to do it. And I actually really ended up enjoying the entire process of creating it. So I'm happy to share it. So the first thing that I always do when I am doing a Draw This in Your Style challenge is try to put the character in a different pose, or maybe doing slightly different from what the original was, so that I can kind of explore the character in different ways. You can, of course, just draw the character the way that it was presented by the creator, but I usually like to just do a little bit different. That way I have a little bit more freedom to, again, just draw it in my style. If I am recreating the way that it was already done, as in the way that the creator made it in the first place, then I feel a little bit locked in as far as my own creativity with the character. So I started off trying off a few different poses, was very happy to do sort of a 3/4 view portrait, which of course is no surprise. That's my favorite way to draw people in the first place, but that's what I settled on. And this one did take me longer than usual because there's a little bit more to it as far as details and layers than my typical portrait style. But I actually thought that was a really good learning experience for me. And since creating this piece, I actually have started to branch out and do more complex, I guess you could say, portraitures, more complex, just paintings in general that require more detail, more time, and more of an eye for creating depth. So of course, once I have done the basic sketch, I will start to create the detailed sketch. And I did this in a different color than the regular graphite color, but I did still use just the peppermint pencil. That's a standard brush in Procreate. I wanted to make the line work blend with the final product a little bit more. Sometimes I like the line work to stand out and be its own graphical element in the piece, but this time I decided I didn't want heavy line work. I didn't want line work to kind of take away from what I thought were the gorgeous colors of the piece. So I went with more of a reddish sort of strawberry color for the line work. And one thing that I'm not sure if I have addressed in previous videos, but a little trick that I like to do when I'm creating a picture that has a lot of different pieces to it, I will create each piece with its own line work color. So for example, I'm drawing the witch herself with this reddish color. And originally when I had to do the background foliage, the leaves and things like that, I do those in different colors. Sometimes I even do the hair in a different color and then on a different layer, of course. So create a new layer, draw the thing in a different color. That way you can see where things are overlapping, erase the lines that you don't want to show, and kind of play with the way that things are interacting with each other. And then when you're done and you're happy with the way things are laying on top of or behind each other, then you can lower the opacity of the layer so that it's gray, and then merge it with the layer below. So I did create a sort of abstract background, abstract watercolor background, which is one of my favorite things to do for portraits like this. And I did use, in this particular one, I used watercolor textures that I already had, that I had scanned in. So it has the watercolor splash and watermarks. And then I felt like I was comfortable enough to finally start cleaning up the line work and creating sort of the ink lines. Again, still in the strawberry red color, but so they don't stand out too much, but sort of anchoring the way that I do want her to finally look with, I believe this one I used the Magic Kohl brush, which is from an Inktober brush pack that I got, and I will link that in the description box below. This is probably my favorite inking brush. When I'm drawing hair, I don't want to draw every single piece connecting with something else, and I don't want to draw every single line because that can feel very heavy and it's not flowing. I like the hair to kind of seem big and fluffy and free flowing, and if you add too many lines to it, it can definitely weigh it down, and it doesn't look as natural, it doesn't look as organic, and it doesn't look like big and fluffy and free flowing. It looks pretty heavy and static. And you'll see that something that I do quite often especially with hair, especially with wavy hair, is I will draw the waves through like another piece of hair. If there's like a lock of hair that's laying on top of another lock, I'll just draw the wave like straight through that lock that's supposed to be laying on top, and then I will erase the line that doesn't belong there. And the reason that I do that is because it makes it so that the line is continuous to the eye. So if you see a piece of the wave that's before the wave on top of it, and then like it continues underneath and you're supposed to see that, it makes it so that the line, you can see visually that it would connect. If you don't draw through, as the technique is usually called, if you don't draw through in like one smooth motion, then the lines can seem a little bit disconnected or disjointed, and even without the viewer noticing or consciously being aware of it, they can see that. So I usually just draw through. If something is laying on top of something else, I'll just draw through it, and then I'll erase the lines that aren't supposed to be seen. So now I'm laying down the colors, and I really wanted to emphasize the contrast between the like green eyes and the green leaves and the strawberry pinks and reds of pretty much everything else that's in the picture. So I went with very bright, vibrant versions of those colors, and I will go on in multiply layers to lay down more like shadows to kind of deepen the colors and add contrast. But I did want to start off with like big pops and bright colors to emphasize the contrast. So as I mentioned, this was part of 2022's monthly challenge that I set for myself. Again, it was to do a Draw This in Your Style challenge, at least one every month. And I did meet that goal except for the month of August, because my family and I were moving from one state to another state. It was like a 900-mile move, and it was very complicated, so I ended up doing almost no art in the month of August, so I did miss that month. But I think that it's important if you don't do resolutions. I personally, like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't do resolutions because I personally feel that they're a little bit useless and they're kind of made to be broken. And I think that a lot of people know that. Like, we know it so well that it's just kind of a joke at this point. So I don't really like to make resolutions that it's already built in. It's already like a built-in assumption that you're not going to keep them. Instead, I like to create goals for myself. And I usually create honestly small goals that I feel are easy to accomplish. And maybe that's like a cheap way of doing things, but I feel like it's a good way of feeling good about keeping the commitment that you made to yourself. So last year, my goals were to create a Draw This in Your Style challenge every month and to post at least 3 times a week on Instagram and grow my Instagram to 1,000 followers. Again, all small, simple goals that are relatively easy to keep, and I ended up keeping all of them. So I get to go into 2023 feeling really good that I got to keep all of my goals and building upon them. So in 2023, my goals have been to do a master study every month. That was actually decided via a poll that I put up on my Instagram. The people who voted decided that they wanted me to do a master study every month, so that is what I'm doing. So far, I've kept that. Obviously, we've only done one full month this year, but next video is actually going to be the master study for February as well. So I feel good about that. Also posting at least one video to YouTube a week. And so far I have been able to keep that up. And also to grow my Instagram to 3,000 followers. Again, small. I don't have any problem at all thinking small in goals, and I honestly think that that's a really good way to approach it, especially if you are like a beginner artist, or if art isn't your like full-time gig, your job, or you're not an art student and you're kind of doing it in conjunction with everything else that's going on in your life. So, I am a wife and a mom, and I have all kinds of other things going on in my life that don't involve art. So any art goals that I make, I want them to be small and achievable. So again, I can just give myself that pat on the back, and I can end the year feeling productive and then build upon those in the next year. So if you have not made any goals for 2023, it's definitely not too late. I highly encourage you to do that. And I personally encourage you thinking small. Make small goals that are fairly easy to achieve, that you can feel good about actually having accomplished. So with that said, I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of the video, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thank you.
Sun will shine.